All right, hi everybody. Once again, welcome to another Proving Grounds interview. This time we have Slammo and Apex, a pretty well-known combo. One of them's been in Battlebots the recent season. The other one we've seen in some other competitions. We haven't seen it in Battlebots yet. We could see it in a future season. So yeah, no co-host at the moment here to ask questions, but some might pop in at some point, whether it's Dottie or Zassa. But guessing on this thing, we have Craig Danby himself here. So how's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's been a lovely afternoon. So we'll start off with talking a little bit about Slammo, then we'll talk a little bit about Apex, and then I have some questions regarding both robots. And well, I don't have a co-host here. One of my cats is hanging around, so as you can kind of see, she's kind of popping in. So, uh, yeah, this should be fun. So we'll start off talking a bit about Slammo, so might as well ask this first question first, since we've seen Slammo in BattleBots before for the past couple seasons. Regarding the recent season, what were kind of some of the issues you were hoping to work through, and how did you kind of address them when coming into Proving Grounds?
The biggest issue we came across was that we overcomplicated uh, a lot of the weapon drive elements and the actual drive elements. In the fight we had against Death Roll, we had one good wheel and one good side and one bad side. The good side had all of the correct gears in, and the bad side had a mismatch of good and bad gears in. Um, so there was we it was too easy to make that kind of mistake. It was too easy to put the wrong things here and the wrong things there. And no matter what we did with Slammo 2022, it was always 249. No matter what we put in the robot, no matter how we set it up, we could change the motors, we could change the weapon because we have thick arms and thinner arms. It would always just weigh in at 249. That's like, this is crazy. Um, so it turned really weird. It was very strange to drive, being so wide, um, which I kind of like. I like the robot to be kind of really twitchy because it makes it a little bit less predictable for everybody else to drive, but because or not to drive to try and fight. So as I'm approaching somebody, I like to be able to kind of flick it a little bit and make it wiggle. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It works really good on live events, but I've never managed to get it to work for long enough to do it on the main show. So what we tried to do with Slammo was to for the new version of Slammo. So there were two versions of Slammo that went to Proving Grounds. There's one that is basically the 2022 bot, but made kind of smaller. We kind of simplified the drive, we simplified the weapon system, rid of all the bits that were taking up a lot of space, and got rid of all of the strange armor mounts that we'd kind of figured that were they were good, as in like nothing really damaged the chassis apart from when we didn't have that armor plate on the front and Terratops hit the actual chassis.
Yep.
Um, when we had the sprung armor, all that sprung armor actually worked really well. So we rebuilt that smaller and a bit more compact and simplified, and that's what fought Doom. And then was going to fight Gigabyte, and then Gigabyte didn't wasn't blew up the night
Yep.
before, so we had to fight Overkill. And then I kind of it's like this bot is good, but it could be better. So we built the version that has fought Scorpios and Apex. So that version is kind of like a better version of that one. And we saw what they were doing with the kind of the show bots, and they were just putting layer upon layer upon layer of AR, and just that density of armor meant that they could take big hits and keep going because it was good for the show. So I was like, well, that's kind of what we need to do too. So the front armor on Slammer, we actually designed Slammer to be a middleweight. We thought about just dropping it out of BattleBots completely and taking it just to Robo Games in the middleweight division. So we just kind of started slapping on half-inch armor, and it's now 222 pounds, I think. And it's got an inch of armor on the front and an inch of AR 500 armor on the back, and it's working really well. So so far so good, I think.
Notice it's a bit faster as well. What was kind of one of the change you made there?
Um, we've had three different drive setups this year. but we have geared the robot for around about 25 miles an hour rather than about 20. So we wanted to be in the hypershock range of speed, and then there's been a lot of dialing in the whole the controllability of that speed. So hypershock does a really great job of being able to control where it is at all times because they keep moving. And if you get a chance to see the final fight with Apex, Slammo is constantly moving, and I'm beginning to pick up like how to drive it better and stuff like that. So speed was a when you're a control bot, you have to have speed. You don't have to be the most powerful robot in the world, but you have to be powerful enough to be able to shove somebody around. So we proved that we could shove somebody around with Doom, and we had to really prove that the whole lifter mechanism worked as intended. Finally, which it did against Scorpios, but it was just super slow. So we sped it up for Apex, and it finally suplexed something again. So it was really nice to see.
for sure. So yeah, can you kind of dig a little deeper into some of those matchups and kind of give us a little bit of a recap of the Doom, Overkill, and Scorpios matches? We had saved the Apex one for kind of when we start talking a little more about Apex.
Sure. So in the our first fight was against Doom, and it was like the second
Believe
Proving
so.
Grounds weekend. So, um, yeah, showed up with the robot fresh out of the crate for Robo Games because it was set up for Robo Games. Couldn't go because we had some family stuff happen, so we had to keep like not go to Robo Games, but it was ready to go. It was all set up, and I literally just had to turn it on and press go. Um, Doom looked kind of terrifying when it was doing its like spin up tests and all of that kind of stuff. So um, the intention was to box rush it, and I don't know if you see the video, they're still doing the fight stuff at the
Yep.
beginning of the video. We've already crossed the arena, so I went straight for him, missed, and he ran away. And in missing and hitting the wall, I think we knocked one of the encoders on on our drive kind of
Yeah,
loose.
I
It
think
was still
Alejandro
there.
mentioned in his interview that basically hitting the screws set the way he did, it ended up rattling something loose and killed the weapon. Something like I think what
Yeah,
you described. So
yeah. So he when he spun around and he clipped the screws are obviously the screws have got a really powerful motor behind them, and as soon as he clipped that with his weapon, that was it. It was he turned himself over. That was his spinner dead, which was good for me because then all I had to do was make contact, and I'd won the fight basically. Um, so I got underneath him and I slammed him into one wall, and he got back on his wheels and drove away. So I was like, I'll chase him and I'll try and do the same again. And I kept having kind of intermittent drive issues from kind of loosening something on one side. So sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. And then when it worked, it was great because I could just shove him into one wall. And so I bounced him off one wall and then into the screws. And there's a moment where I'm pushing him into the screws, and I'm also trying to pick him up. And there's a big plume of smoke that comes out of it. It starts with my tires, and then it goes white, and that's my vest exploding.
oh boy.
Um, I was like, oh, okay. So I backed away. Didn't realize it was the vest at that point. I backed away, and he ran around. I regained control, and I caught him, and I slammed him into the wall. And I think the rotation of his disc as I hit him into the wall was enough to turn him completely over. And knowing that my lifter was defunct, it was not doing the up and downy thing, I was like, I'm just going to leave him. Hopefully, that's enough to kind of keep the audience happy for 5 minutes. So I backed off and let them have the count. And then Trey was stood behind me. He's like, go and hit him again. Go nudge him. Go nudge him. It's like, okay. So I nudged him a little bit. And that was it. I backed away, took my win. Um, but my dad had flown out to see me fight in Vegas, and my dad hadn't been to a Battlebots event ever. He hadn't been to a robot combat event in 11 years, which was pretty cool for him to come over and see something that I had built and to then have a win and get my winner's pog, which is right there.
Ah,
So that was
oh yeah,
good.
gotta
Um,
get it on a poster frame like the Pain Train one.
yeah, my pain train one is up there as well. So yeah, it was a nice easy fight in reality. My nerves were getting the better of me a little bit. Um, my dad and I went out and celebrated, thinking, I'll just replace the Vesk tomorrow. It'll be fine. It'll be great. And I went to replace the Vesk and realized that I'd also jammed the gearbox on the weapon to the point where the gearbox was shattered. It had gears that had exploded inside the gearbox. And it was about an hour and a half before the competition. So we were supposed to have two fights with Doom. And I just I just thought to myself, it's just not worth going in with an intermittent drive, one good drive and an intermittent drive. I thought, screw it. Well, I'll take my win and I'll go home. And I sat and watched Doom fight Overkill. Thought he should have won it, and then he killed himself again, which was very funny. It was very funny in the pits at the time, anyway. But that was Doom. Um, Doom has gotten better every time I've seen it, and I've seen him fight a few times now. To the point where when he fought me, that was probably the worst that he's been. And every time I've seen him since, he's gotten better and better and better.
Yeah, I
When he
would
remembers to
agree.
put all of the bolts in.
Yeah, because it was awesome hearing from Alejandro because he talked about how basically he started off with the fight with Samurai, how that was his and their first match ever, and how that one didn't exactly go to plan for them. And then they used Robo Games to kind of learn a little bit more about the machine and test out a couple upgrades for it, and which helped them get better and get a lot more experience in the sport at it. Then yeah, kind of using Proving Grounds to continue building on that because there was the match with you guys, and then eventually they ended up taking on Mortician and Cat Kong, where they really had everything dialed in and managed to really put on a heck of a show
Yeah,
for us in that one. It looked
yeah.
really good. And
Alejandro's. There've been people have been a bit cruel to Alejandro a little bit, like on some of the forums and so on, where they're like, "Oh, it's terrible. It's always breaking down." Like, well, that's how you learn. Every time
yeah,
something breaks,
exactly.
you repair it and you keep going. And he's done really really well. He's come from a mostly hard background, and to get hands on with something to see just how something breaks is very interesting. And it's a very steep learning curve, but it's as long as you stay on the path, you will get there eventually. And he's done terrific to get to this point. So
Oh yes, I give him so much credit for all that he's managed to do. Hey Dottie.
Yo, what's up?
All right, so yeah, welcome Dottie. And yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking about recaps with Slammo's matches so far.
Oh yeah. Slammo's looking really freaking good. I'm really excited for that.
I'm pretty pleased with it too. It should have come back
Yeah,
from Vegas today, but it came back. It's coming back tomorrow now for some reason.
yeah. Yeah, because
Oh
we
yeah,
also heard the same.
the
Yeah,
storm.
we also heard the same thing from Banshee. How Banshee that David mentioned that he had a couple things he wanted to improve upon for this season, and mentioned how some of that stuff didn't go to plan during their first couple Proving Grounds matchups, but then that second match of Maximum Paralysis, where basically Banshee was working basically how David wants it to, and it kind of seems like the same thing for you because you managed to get the robot driving and lifting the way you wanted it to and everything. And
Yeah,
like
we
Dottie
showed up.
said, Slammo's been looking great. So
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of work to get Slammer where it is, and I actually had a new guy join my team, a guy called Jason. If you're in the kind of Tennessee area, you cannot miss him. He's 400 pounds of love. He's a big dude, and you can't miss him. He's terrific. And he came in and was like, "Hey, why don't we try these motors instead?" And I was like, I don't know if I want to try those." He was absolutely right. We spent a weekend together testing motors and installing them and rewiring the robot, and all of a sudden it went from being kind of like it's good at times to being it's good like all the time now. So there's still room
Hell
for
yeah.
improvement, but right now I owe a lot to Jason and his expertise in like the castle motor side of things. So the fight we had with Apex was all castle motors, and it was terrific. So
awesome. All right, so yeah, might as well talk about this one next. So we know that you have a match with maximum paralysis coming later in Proving Grounds. I think probably in a couple weeks or something. I don't remember exactly what the date is.
It's March.
Yeah, March. Yeah. Are there any other issues with Slammo you're hoping to address prior to that point? And if you know about it, what might be your strategy for maximum paralysis?
So we can only do any kind of strategizing for Max based on what we saw, um, and based on like, any kind of if it works, it could be like as good as Blip. Um, so you got to treat it like it's going to be 100% and not pretend that it's going to be easy. No fights should ever
Mm.
you should ever walk into any fight thinking they're easy. So the plan is to like we have a what we think is a super low front end. This is like the lowest, sharpest front end we've got because we're going to need to get underneath him, um, and it's all sprung loaded so that it keeps them down, but they're angled in a way that they shouldn't hit like seams and stuff like that.
Mm.
And the seems they've welded up the arena floor, so it seems like the seams are gone for now. We'll see, but we're gonna suplex him. Hopefully, I'm hoping to introduce him to each side of the arena. I think we call that coast to coast. Um, so the hope is that we just go for a nice, easy fight in the first day, and then on the second day, really, really go ham and try and break him. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how
Yeah.
how well both robots end up working during that time. We haven't seen maximum paralysis since they fought Banshee, so it'll be interesting to see like what kind of work they put into that robot to improve it from what we see in the Banshee fight as it is for Slammo. So yeah. So basically, then next question will kind of be, what's your favorite match of Proving Grounds so far? Whether it's one that you've been in and or one that you haven't been in.
My favorite one that I've been in, aside from fighting Apex, had been fighting Scorpios. We nearly did a grudge match back in 2019 against Scorpios with Foxtrot, um, but they didn't let us have that fun for whatever reason. So knowing that Proving Grounds was coming, I was like, well, let me reach out to Zach and Diana and see what they have to say. So that was really good fun because they're good people, excellent people. It was good to hang out with them and fight them. Unfortunately, like Slammo that's probably the worst that Slammo has been internally. It was very kind of slapdash. There were wires everywhere, and it all fitted. It just didn't fit together as well as we'd hoped. Um, but that was pretty good fun. The favorite one I've watched. I mean, I quite enjoyed Travis T's fight against
Ooh,
Snakebite. That was pretty good fun. But the twins Fireball, is it Fireball?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's been my favorite. Like it's been my favorite so far because Fireball looked devastating.
for sure.
I suppose Manta Triton as well. Manta Triton
Yeah.
was a pretty good fight.
Yeah, Zaza was talking about how it was like absolutely frightening after seeing some of those weapon on weapon shots between Triton and Manta, especially the ones that sent Triton who knows how many feet in the air.
They had Triton in the pits a few weeks later when I was last there, or when I was there like after they'd fought. And Triton was a banana. It was
Yeah,
the front end was kind of split a little higher. That is awesome. And Triton's a good robot. You know, Triton's really not that far away from being like a tombstone level horizontal spinner. So yeah, it was
definitely.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and so then next question then, basically, I think Kyle from Hypershock had a really good question that he asked prior to the Doom and Banshee interviews. So I'm adding it to this one and all the others coming. What design challenge do you think is critical to overcome so for Slammo to reach the next level?
Uh, Repeatability. One thing that we've had is that the robot has become pretty reliable. It's gone any fight that it's gone 3 minutes in, it's mostly worked, with the exception of the overkill fight, which I will ignore because that was a single wire coming off. And I blame Alon for that because he was helping me put the robot together that day. And I missed it, but I'm going to blame Alon anyway. The robot's pretty reliable, but we got to make sure that it does the same thing every single fight. In the way that Sawblaze goes into a fight and everything works all the time. He has no question about whether the spinner's going to spin up, whether the arm's going to work, whether the forks are going to stay on the floor, whether the drive's going to work how he wants it. So reliability, getting everything reliable, kind of job done so far. Getting it to continue being reliable, the repeatability of that is like the biggest thing.
For sure. Yeah, and so kind of going back to the favorite match of Proving Grounds, between all the Proving Grounds robots, who is somebody you would be interested in taking on, and who's someone you'd want to avoid?
Would like to avoid Manta because Manta is terrifying.
I had a feeling that was going to be the answer for that part.
I have fought drum spinners. I fought Toro Maximus, which became Minotaur quite a while ago, 10 years ago this year. I have no plans to repeat that anytime soon. Not by choice, anyway. If we make it 2 Battlebots and we have to fight them, then fair enough. But I will definitely not be calling them up and going, "Hey, you want to come to Proving Grounds?" No, thank you. And that goes for Manta. I'm not that. I think Nick's built a terrific robot, but I will absolutely not be calling him up for a fight. I would love another shot at Hypershock. If Will wanted to take Hypershock again, I would love another shot at Hypershock. But will depend. It will depend on when filming happens now. So if filming is going to happen, I will need enough time to repair the robot. So because there's no way you're coming out of a Hypershock fight without any damage. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, but Hypershock would be the one. If I could pick any, maybe what's Chad's robot called? Magnitude. I
Magnitude.
might consider
Magnitude, yeah.
Only because I want to hang out with Chad because he's really cool.
Oh yeah, I've heard he's an awesome guy, and
Yeah, he seems nice.
Got to get him on. He's terrific.
Yeah, there are actually plans for an interview with Magnitude at some point.
Good. He's a good
Yeah,
guy.
we don't have an exact date planned out yet, but there are plans for Magnitude. So
good.
All right then. So next question then. Basically, if you could redo any of your fights, like doesn't have to be Proving Grounds. It could be even your prior seasons of BattleBots too. Which match would you want to redo, and what would you do differently for it?
The one that sticks out would be the Black Dragon fight. We put the wrong weapon setup on. I put the wedge on because I knew the wedge worked and it could protect us, but it was not the best call for it. And I kind of panicked. I was like, "We're just putting the wedge on," and everybody was very nice and like, "Okay, put the wedge on." And we should have put the forks on. My double fork setup. That would have been a far better way. And I think I could have picked him up, grabbed him, I could have thrown him out of the arena, as we could have done in that year. That would have been, yeah. And Proving Grounds, I would have made sure that my sensor cable was plugged into my motor correctly against overkill and had a much better fight because that was my worst Proving Grounds.
Yeah, I gotta love how little things like that can ruin someone's day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely how I felt after hearing the Captain Shredderator Lockjaw fight. Captain Shredderator lost that fight just because of a pin, and
it happens. It's
yeah, exactly.
the little things are what get overlooked. The big things is the motor bolted down properly. Is the motor connected properly? Okay, great. What about the sensor cable? So those old guys with our brushed motors didn't used to have this problem. So
Yeah, and so now the last question that's for just Slammo, at least. There'll be some for both regarding both robots, basically. Basically, there are many robots who have been going to Proving Grounds lately because they want like one of these. I don't know how many like we'll just say 10 or so spots and BattleBots, whatever they have left over from returning teams, they're easily going to get in, basically. What do you think kind of makes Slammo really stand out from all those Proving Grounds robots that makes basically to where Slammo should get one of those spots in the top 50, whether it's like experience, fight quality, robot design, experience, and so
We
on.
we turned up with a far improved robot than what we had at 2022. And sorry, Championship 7. We don't do it by year anymore. Championship 7 Slammo sucked. There's a reason why I sold it almost immediately. um, uh, every single time we've gone to Proving Grounds, we've tried something new, and it's almost always been a step forward. And in our latest set of fights against Apex, it was such a massive step forward in terms of performance from the robot that yeah, it was they'd be foolish to overlook this awesome little control bot, the little bot that could.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we are doing is we're trying to be as entertaining outside of the arena as we are inside the arena, and I like to be I try and be funny in my post-fight and pre-fight interviews, and the robot itself is now beginning to perform like a robot that can justify a place. So if they want a reason to put me in because I'm funny, and the robot
Yep.
is working.
Might as well go to my less serious question I have here. If you were to fight Apex again, and then you did what would be your comment after pushing the ready button this time?
So Chris had we were in the bar like the night before each fight, and we were discussing what we would say. And Chris had one that he didn't use when I said that he was adopted in the second fight. He was supposed to say Craig wet the bed from the age of 12. So I think I'd steal that, and I was like, Chris wet the bed until the age of 12, and then I like throw that and see what he has to say.
Wow. Zaza, that was a fun thing for you to get in on here.
That was a great. The button press was great, though. I was really.
Oh yes.
I feel like his dumbfounded reaction of like, "Oh my god, you just said that," was better than responding.
The thing is, he knew I was going to say it. We discussed it, and we had a whole thing where he was supposed to have a response. He was so panicked about Apex not working properly that he was like, so I think I took him completely by surprise. I was quite surprised at the laugh that we got from the audience. It was a lot bigger
it was
than I
fantastic.
anticipated it would be. So, but it was fun. I enjoyed doing that. So.
So yeah, Pori and Zaza, do you have any questions regarding specifically Slammo before I ask my first question or two about Apex?
I think I've had all mine answered previously, so.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So yeah, first question then about Apex. So we've seen Apex in Robot Wars and also seen a lighter version of that robot in Battlebots, and I'm sure other competitions as well that I'm not naming. What kind of makes this version of Apex unique compared to those previous versions of Apex that we've seen?
So this is a very complicated robot. So Chris, we designed. Actually, I have it right here because I found it when I was in England over Christmas. I built an Upweight back in it was 2009, I think. That was three-legged and had a big old spinner on top, and it's a gyro walker. So you spin up the weapon on top and you angle the blade with like helicopter swash stuff. And we actually proposed that robot to BattleBots for season 2, and obviously they rejected it because we didn't get in. But we were like, this would be cool, and they're like, nope, nope, because we had like a 150-pound weapon on top that was powered by a small jet engine. It was like, this would be cool. Like, no, which was fair. Yeah, it was very fair. But this little antweight is what we based Apex's design off. So the very first version of Apex was with the triangular shaped one with where the bar came off. That one was based off this as well. So it was always the intention of trying to make it kind of articulate. Battlebot said that it had to have wheels, so we put wheels on the end of the legs, and we slowly but surely kind of turned that triangular shape into kind of a walking version of it. Chris has no formal engineering training. Everything that he knows how to do build wise and stuff like that, he's picked up by going out, watching YouTube videos, going out and following people, and physically like learning stuff on the go. So the fact that he's built a robot that has like 11 motors and it has, I think it's like 6 degrees of freedom. Um, it's absolutely sensational, and he's done it bit by bit over the
Wow.
last couple of years. This robot is nothing from this robot is from an old version of Apex. The only thing is that the colors are kind of the same. In fact, they stopped making the same red that he was using, so that he's had to go to a slightly different red. But the whole robot is completely new. There's nothing shared from another robot, and
I like
it's
the color
taken 2
scheme on
years
it.
to get to this point, and it's so overly complicated that when we weren't at Proving Grounds, we were like, let's do this, 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 and this, and that'll simplify it. So hopefully that works.
Yeah. So yeah, can you kind of give a recap then of the Slammo and Apex fight? Talk about both robots, and then what are kind of some of the improvements you're looking to make for Apex before the fight with Traves T, whenever that is.
So the first fight with Slammo, I had proposed that we put a big box on the front of Slammo that was full of glitter, and that I would let him get up to speed and maybe run on the present, because it was just before Christmas, into the weapon. And I got told that was not going to be allowed. I can't understand why. So
Trey,
we didn't
Trey,
do it.
Trey.
So, but
How
that's
dare
fine. It's
Trey
not a
do that?
problem. So we I had to treat him like I was fighting Tombstone, because we hadn't seen what Apex would do in a fight. He'd done the pre-fight stuff where he'd done the spin up, spin down stuff. He was clearly a little slow to spin up, but he was getting up to 188 miles an hour at spin up.
Wow.
So like, okay, and that's a 63.5 pound, I think, 55 inch, sorry, 53-inch reach on his bar. So it's a big bar. It's heavy, and once it gets up to speed, that's not something you want to get hit by. So Slammo box rushed Apex. He was still spinning, and he was still spinning up. And every time he started to spin, he would clip a bit of Slammo. So got chunks missing from the front forks on Slammo, and he got a good look. He just did a kind of like a spin and a half and hit the side of Slammo and broke one of the sides off Slammo. And in doing so, bent one of the drive shafts to the point where the wheel was rubbing. So it was off center ever so slightly. So it would hit and it would do that. So it meant that driving was a bit fun with Slammo for the rest of the fight. But I had to stay on him with Slammo to stop him from getting up to speed. I pushed him across the arena. And in doing so, I bent one of his wheels, the shaft that the wheel sits on, into a position where he couldn't drive forwards. It was acting like a hook, and he was hooked just under the lip of the where the augers for the screws are. So he just couldn't move. I just had him wedged in a perfect position. He just couldn't get out. So that's how it ended for him. I did try and lift him, but picking up Apex is like trying to pick up a jellyfish. So he just kind of slipped out of the claws and fell onto his back upright. I was like, damn it. So yeah, if anybody wants to pick up Apex with their own robot, it's not easy. So good luck.
Yeah.
Uh,
Suplex in
so that
fight
was
2 is beautiful.
the fight 2 was far better. So we knew that Apex had some drive issues. It was still spinning up a little slowly. Weren't overly certain as to why it was spinning up so slowly. And then we went over it afterwards. We talked about his settings and stuff, and realized he's got his settings completely wrong. Not completely wrong, but wrong enough that it was like if you didn't have the stick in the exact right position for the exact right amount of time, or you went full throttle, it would shut down. It's like, oh, okay, all right, okay, that's a silly little mistake. We'll fix that. So yeah, I let him spin up a little bit, And then he started looking really dangerous. So I was like, nope. And I ran Slammo into him. And I was like, I got to suplex you. So I actually hooked the bar and a leg. And I suplexed him over. And he landed on it upside down. And I pushed him into the wall. And he got him stuck. And he couldn't spin. So the idea was I was going to suplex him. And then he would try and spin and self-right that way. So we're not 100% certain it will, but we think it might self-right just with the bar spinning. It's definitely got the torque to do it, but I wedged him into the wall by accident and he couldn't get out. And then every time I tried to kind of get him out, he kind of just kept getting. He's such a big, awkward shape, and he's all loose and floppy. And it's like, this isn't working. So I smashed him into one wall and broke off a wheel. And I smashed him into another wall and broke off a wheel. And I smashed myself into the wall and broke off a fork. Like, damn it. And I just then spent the last few, like 10, 15 seconds of the fight just doing loops of the arena as fast as I possibly could. Just to prove, I was like, I've got Claw Viper speed. My magnets are working now. It's doing great. So, yeah, it was terrific. So that's a quick rundown of the fight, I think, from my perspective at least.
Yeah. It certainly looked that way. It definitely was Slammo's most impressive fights yet. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that maximum paralysis fight, as well as seeing whatever upgrades Apex has for when it fights Traves T, whatever weekend that is, and see how it works in that match. So
So
yeah, it should
Apex's
be
biggest
exciting.
issues that it had was with it's it, it's using some abandoned Slammo drive gearboxes. We abandoned them because we kept breaking them. And he broke them, funnily enough. So which was a bit of a silly thing. I remember him telling me he was going to put them in, and I was like, that's not going to work. But he insisted he could make it work, and he couldn't. So we're actually going to go the death roll route, and we've got the hub motors from like hoverboards uh, for Apex. And what that does is it opens up a huge amount of space within each leg, so that we can put basically we're going to put a Slammo lifter mechanism into each leg, and those legs, and that's going to make the legs fully articulate. So those parts actually shipped from Sencut Sen today. Thanks, Sencut Sen. And I'll be assembling those kind of over the next week or so. Then I'll take those to Tennessee to my guy Jason, and he will take them to Vegas. And him and Chris will install them once we get to like the 2 days before they fight Traves T. I've got a whole bunch of like VESC settings for him to put in so that he can get his spin up time back, because he has had it working. But Chris is terrified of Apex, as he should be. The only so we have a 10-foot shipping container, and the idea is that you put the robot in the shipping container, you close the doors, and use a GoPro to see the robot tested. And he's even too terrified to do that. So
I wonder if some of
he's
it
gonna.
came from. I wonder if some of that came from a certain Robot Wars match with Traction, or whichever one it. Or sorry, mispronunciation it.
So of all of the
Uh,
like failures that have ever happened, like when we spoke to BattleBots and we were like, so this happened at Robot Wars, are we okay to bring Apex? And like we've had Gigabyte thrown into the wall, we've had like Valkyrie's disc has come off a few. It's like, yeah, it's not a problem. We are going to
Gigabyte a
handle
few
it. It's
more
not a problem.
times.
Gigabyte a few times. It's like, yeah.
Gassy Cat
So
once or
they have
twice.
no questions. They had no concern about Apex being in the arena. But
We get Apex and Manta at
all
some point.
together, yeah, that'd be
Oh yeah.
fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Nope. No.
Deep Six and Tombstone,
Sure. That's
or Hydra and Tombstone.
I won't say anything, but there was somebody. I created a group for people to discuss and pick their proving grounds fights, because I've been so many times, I've become everybody's kind of so. Hey, do you know anybody looking for a fight on this date? And I was like, I got sick of answering the question basically, so I set up a Facebook group for everyone to talk to. And somebody keeps mentioning Deep Six, so we may see Deep Six turn up at proving grounds.
Fingers
Ooh.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Oh,
I would love to see that.
Not for me
I
though.
miss
Thank
Deep
you.
Six.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very opportune weekend for a rookie hopeful because there's a lot you can do to prove yourself there.
Yeah. Well then might as well ask this question then. What did, I know we haven't seen much from Apex, and we'll hopefully see how it improves. But as of its current standings right now, or even a little bit later on, what do you think kind of makes Apex stand out from all the Proving Grounds competitors? Basically the same question as with Slammo, but with Apex this time.
It's such a big, weird robot. If it works the way that it's intended to work, there's nothing like it out there. The fact that it's got the 3 wheels, it doesn't drive conventionally. It doesn't really have a forwards and backwards. It's supposed to kind of pirouette as it turns. So if you try and ram it, all you're going to try and do, all that's going to happen is you're going to spin it around. And with the ability to kind of move the legs up and down, we can kind of tilt and angle the bar in any direction. It's a really cool design, and if it works the way we want it to, there's nothing out there that's anything like it. The trouble is making it work the way we want it to. That's the biggest hurdle. So the thing that's going to set it apart from everybody else is that nobody's doing it like Apex is doing. So
Oh yeah,
we got to make
definitely.
sure that it does it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely I'll be looking forward to seeing how well like lots of those upgrades you were talking about for Apex end up working out for it and see how well it really builds up momentum on it, like what we've been seeing from really every team we've talked to so far during these. And yeah, maybe we'll see extremely dangerous version of Apex that ends up getting accepted to BattleBots. And
So I spent Christmas in England for the first time in like 4 years, and while we were there, we built a wooden frame in exactly the same shape as Apex, and we put some hoverboard wheels on it to just kind of test it, and it did everything it was supposed to do. Chris is going to make a few changes and make some custom bits for it, and I'm going to make some bits for it. And I think between the three of us, myself, Chris, and Jason, we're going to throw this robot back together like beginning of February 1st or something like that. Get it tested on February 2nd, and then fight Traves T. And it will be far more mobile than it was against Slammo, and I think the weapon settings we're going to get absolutely right. I think, and if the weapon works how it's supposed to work, there will be only one Traves T fight with Apex, and then Apex will fight Overkill because it will destroy
ooh,
Traves T.
dang.
Fighting
We got,
words.
yeah, we got fighting talk here. We're interviewing with Travis T next, so
Okay.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, I feel like
yeah.
if Apex works, I mean, it probably ruins Travis T because I don't know if that thing can hold up to like a good horizontal spinner. You know?
I'm extremely curious to see how they're going to handle
Yeah.
Apex because they've said their plan for
Mm.
horizontals is weapon to weapon, and with a long horizontal that can shift the way it hits, I'm not sure how that's going to work for
It's
them.
gonna
But
be a tall order, I think.
Yeah, I think the
We'll
plan
see.
for Apex is for it to hit from above rather than hit low.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
So I think Travis T can also angle their weapon,
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
but I think the plan is to hit their weapon from above rather than from below.
That's going to be a really interesting match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to that. Should be
Someone's going to
exciting.
explode.
Yeah,
Hopefully not as
somebody's going to
I've done that
explode.
before.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, the next question, which will be the second to last one that I've got, is basically this is the first season that BattleBots has been doing Proving Grounds since all the property stuff has been kind of taken care of, and now BattleBots is doing stuff on a weekend basis. What are kind of your opinions on Proving Grounds and why? Whether it's like you like it, don't like it, etc.
I I adore it. I think this is fantastic. It's fantastic for the heavyweight division. I could not have learnt what I've learnt with Slammo anywhere but Proving Grounds, being in the arena, dialing in magnets, dialing in weapon, dialing in drive, dialing in tires to get better traction. You can't do that anywhere but Proving Grounds. It cost me about the same amount of money to take a beetle weight to Norwalk as it does to take Slammo to Proving Grounds. So
Wow.
it's about the same cost, and for about $300-400 more, I could go to Extreme Robots in England. So the cost is almost negligible between doing all three. And I spend a lot of money on the heavyweight. I don't spend a lot of money on the beetle weight, and I'm always been a heavyweight builder, and so I would absolutely always take the opportunity to fight at Proving Grounds over fighting at Norwalk, even though I'm likely to have like more fun with more friends at Norwalk. I do enjoy being inside the battle box and standing there. And every single time I go, I get a picture of me at the either at the walkthrough bit or at the buttons or inside the arena. I love it. It's the best thing ever. And I wish more teams would go. We had about 40 people, 40 teams, or 40 different robots show up. I think at Proving Grounds this last year, and I hope more take the opportunity to go. It's been
Absolutely.
absolutely wonderful, and you get treated like royalty. It's fantastic.
Well, I wonder if Zaz is guilty of treating you like royalty.
I only met Zaz once in the like 6 times that I went last year. He only
Yeah, it was.
bothered to make
I
himself
missed.
available
I
once.
missed the Doom weekend. I think I bumped into you very briefly during the Gigabyte one, but it wasn't for very long.
Okay.
And then I missed you at the. What was the other one? It's
Scorpios
Scorpios.
or
Yeah,
Apex.
Yeah, 'cause you only went on the Sunday, right? And I was the day before.
yeah.
Well,
Gotta let
Zaza,
you off.
you have another opportunity for
No, but
when
it did
Apex fights
it
Traves
did give
T
me
and
a chance.
Slammo fights Maximum Paralysis.
That's true. It did give me a chance to meet Jason though, and he's a very lovely guy. So
He's a great guy. I highly recommend anybody who wants to meet Southern gentleman. He's not the guy to meet. But if you want to meet a big guy who loves robots, go meet Jason.
Definitely. So yeah, then my final question. This is also a really unserious question. One that came in this morning at Uda. Zaza probably knows what it is already or
oh god.
something. Yeah, we're doing this one. Basically, with either robot, if you replace your weapon with a food item, what would you choose?
So I saw that this morning as I was flicking through Discord. I was like, been thinking about it. I think a stale French bread loaf would be
Like
would make it
like a baguette?
better. Like a
That's
long
that's a
baguette.
good
It's gotta
call.
be like a month old. It's like rock solid to be able to handle the force of trying to lift something over.
Oh, I
That
was
would
thinking it was
be
for
fine for
Apex.
Slammo, and I think spaghetti, but like dry spaghetti on Apex. So it
That's
would
fair,
just
yeah.
get smaller as it hit things. I think that would be the way forward.
I was thinking the baguette for Apex. I was imagining instead of like the thump 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 of like the spinning, you just hear hon 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 hon.
That would work too. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe just a baguette, just a really stale baguette for both of them.
Well, if you need dry spaghetti, go to Reese Ewert since Lars got a full fusion full of spaghetti. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Zaza and Pori, do you have any other questions for Craig regarding either Slammo, Apex, or Bull?
I don't know. I'm just looking forward to the future of Slammo, and I'm hoping to see it make some big money moves going forward. I mean, I imagine you've definitely got the maximum paralysis fight. I think you should be good in that one. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing you take them to Suplex City. I think that'll be pretty cool.
I'm getting better with timing my suplexes. So I have, where is he? Here somewhere. I have a 150-gram version which I use to practice. I actually 3D print
Oh, it's so
a
cute.
version of everybody that I fight, and I use it. And I drive it around the little battle box, the Hexbug battle box, and I just flick, and I'm like getting used to flicking.
That's awesome.
It's a good way
Little
to do
Cube
it,
I made,
yeah.
amazing. It's probably better that it probably drove better than Doom did in the actual Battlebot. Sorry, Alejandro. But that was great because it gave me plenty of practice. So I knew that if I got my little forky things under him, I could just drive him around and yeah. So and it worked. So it didn't work for Gigabyte because they chickened out of fighting me. They blew up their weapon motor. All right, Eric.
So real.
Yeah.
I would love to fight Gigabyte, maybe. I haven't got a horizontal setup yet, so maybe we ought to figure out what I'm going to do for horizontal setup.
That's pretty risky that you accepted their challenge before without a horizontal setup.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's like, oh, I'm going to be able to figure this out, right? What is Hardox, right? It's just metal.
Yeah.
It only slows you down.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's okay. They chickened out anyway, so.
Yeah, they did.
Zaza, you got any questions?
Not in particular, no.
Okay. You got anything else left to talk about, Craig? That's worth mentioning.
I promise that Apex will get better. It wasn't as impressive as it could have been, not as impressive as we were hoping it would be. But I mean, I'm pretty pleased from a Slammo point of view that it didn't work very well because I came home with a complete robot. But Apex is a terrific robot. It's going to do fantastic, even if he is adopted. And we will.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll get it there. We'll get it where it's going to go. I think it's going to fight. After it fights Traves T, it may fight again, but we'll see. See what
Maybe
time.
we'll see. We'll see, because because I think we've heard hints that there's going to be more Proving Grounds weekends coming, following the ones we know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about what we could see from really either of those two robots and any of the other Proving Grounds robots out there. Should be very exciting.
I saw a sneaky thing that Tantrum were potentially looking at taking turning up to Proving Grounds, and if Alex watches this, Alex, I'd love to fight you with Slammo. So give me a call.
Oh yeah.
That would be a real
Take him to Suplex City.
That would be a good test for Slammo. It's partly why I love lots of these veteran teams coming to Proving Grounds, because like I think especially with lots of the rookie robots fighting like veteran teams, like how we saw Disarray take on Jackpot, and then Doom taking on Gigabyte and so on. Like it's a great experience for lots of these young teams and new robots and everything, and yeah, it's a great opportunity for them, and yeah, so plus a great opportunity for lots of these veteran teams to test out upgrades too. So
cool, yeah,
very exciting times. So
that actually does raise a question I was thinking of. You have now been competing in this sport with heavyweights for almost as long as I've been alive, which is kind of crazy to think about. What advice would you give to builders who are trying to get on the show for the first time, who are coming to the Proving Grounds? Like, what would you say is something they should focus on?
Keep it simple. Don't overthink what you're trying to do. Robots are not as difficult as I make them look. AR 500 and Senko your friend, because you can basically overnight parts to yourself. AR 500 is easy to weld, and the reason we use it is because it's easy to weld. So a lot of the facilities that are at Battlebots to fix robots they're geared for welding steel. So make your robot mostly out of steel, and if you're going to make your robot mostly out of steel, you're going to make it fairly small, so you have less surface area. So build small, form fit your design so that you have as little excess material as possible. Those are really early stage stuff for your design. To get into Battlebots, I'm not really sure how I got into Battlebots. I had a robot that looked like a fox, and they liked it. And then I've kind of been like a parasite. They can't get rid of me now. So I don't know. Be a parasite.
That's funny.
No. Be interesting. Be interesting with what you want to bring, and practice talking to the hosts. That's something that Alejandro didn't do very well at the beginning. Was that when Steve, I think it was, that was interviewing him, asked him a question, he just kind of froze up. So be prepared to speak to about 800 people about your robot. So it helps if you don't take yourself too seriously in him.
Mhm.
But that's probably one of the most overlooked things, is to practice talking to a room full of people that are judging you. But probably most of all, do it with somebody else's money. Get a sponsor, somebody who's quite prepared to throw 10 grand at a robot and they don't care. That's far easier to spend that money, and you care a lot less about what gets destroyed when it's not your money. So
Yeah,
So
there's
real.
lots of advice I could give.
for sure. All great advice that you gave right there. So, oh yeah. Anything else from anybody before we close out this interview?
I'm good.
All right.
I think I'm good. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that'll do it for this interview. Thanks for tuning into this one. Thanks for Craig for showing up for this one and talking with us about Slammo and Apex. It was a great time and great hearing in detail about both those robots, as well as some entertaining comments here and there along the way. Uh, yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next interview. All right. Hi, everybody. Once again, we're back for another interview. And this time we are with Traves T. We have Kurt here to talk with us. Zassa is here to ask questions. And I assume at some point Dottie will probably show up once again to ask some questions of her own. So, yeah, how's it going, Kurt?
It's going well. Yep. I'm excited to get back out to Proving Grounds and have some real fights this time instead of the wimpy fights we had last time. Just to see what we can really do. You know, those last two fights were kind of lame, so can't blame me for that. But the competitors were kind of lame.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Traves T again in the arena in the future, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about Traves T, the design, a little bit for lots of the fans out there that aren't aware of Traves T?
Well, it is completely different. Greg Munson described it as a novelty bot, and I kind of more like to think of it as a new concept rather than a novelty bot, because I built the thing to be competitive. I wanted to be different, but I want to be competitive too. And so I went through a thought process of, the vertical spinners, are the latest thing, and everybody's building vertical spinners, vertical spinner this. I'm not going to build what everybody else builds. And I'm not going to build anything that has a wedge on it. And I refuse to play the ground game. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, that's just, to me, I just don't. I would go golfing rather than build a robot that has to have the ground game. So I thought about the vertical spinners, and looking at the success that Huge had by getting up above. And so I thought of it, started thinking of different concept, and because obviously I don't like Huge's wheels. They're obviously, he's made them much better lately, but they're awful kind of floppy and they get chopped up a lot. So, I have my legs on, like pedestals, which will also get chopped up. But since they're smaller, I think I can make them stronger. Like if you looked at our Proving Grounds fights, everybody thought my wheels are really wimpy, but that was really only because we're going up against people that weren't, that didn't have any kinetic energy weapons. So the new version will have much beefed up wheels. I mean, you're going to have 5 inches of UHMW to chop through in order to get to my wheels now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be difficult for somebody to get to the wheels. And so that's kind of the, and the other, I guess the other thing I wanted to, talk about is if you think about vertical spinners, you try to find their weakness. This is my thoughts anyway. And where are they the weakest? And the weapon is going to be the weakest when it's at the top of its stroke, right? It's very difficult for it to transfer any energy into your bot at the top of its stroke. In fact, anything above, the halfway point on its upward rotation is going to have less energy than that first quarter rotation, like that first, like right from the ground up to the first quarter rotation. That's where it has its ability to really transfer energy into you because it's anchored by the ground. But anything above that, it's kind of spinning backwards or and so that it's going to have less ability to transfer energy into you. And that's why I wanted to be up high so that if I have to hit his weapon, it's going to be where his weapon is the weakest. Okay. And then I wanted also the adjustability, on the blade so that I can, pick where I want to hit each opponent. So that's my thoughts.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So can you tell us a little bit of, let's see. Can you kind of recap the fights with Overkill and Snakebite, the matches you've had so far?
Well, I mean, the Overkill fight was pretty lame. They weren't trying all that hard. They're putting on a show and they weren't trying all that hard. They're giving, and so we ripped off one of his tires initially, then ripped off one of his wheels. But yeah, it was, really less than 30 seconds and the fight was over. And the Overkill is slow and this weapon really has no power. So it really wasn't much of a fight, We did have a problem though, in that, all my wheels and my blade are all direct drive. So there's no chains or pulleys or none of that stuff. So all we have is a wire running from the controller to the wheel. And in the Overkill fight, the impact caused one of those wires to become unplugged. And that was because we didn't have it secured tightly enough. And so after that, we secured it tightly, and then we had our next fight. So, and that one also, I mean, they were putting the robot together, just as they were wheeling it out into the arena. I didn't even think it was going to move. Ultimately it did move, but the armor was taped on, so it really wasn't much of a fight either. And so we didn't, so I didn't spin my weapon up completely because I didn't want to, destroy the guy's, everything inside his bot. So I only had it like half speed, and so we hit him and we tore him up. But it's not like was a great fight by any stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it should be interesting seeing the next couple of matches. So yeah, might as well ask this one next. So we know you've got a match with Swamp Thing and Hellfire one weekend, and then Apex another weekend. Basically, what are kind of some of the strategies you're considering when taking on those three robots? And if there are any that you haven't mentioned already, what are kind of some upgrades or improvements you kind of have planned for Traves T to fix any sort of issues you might have discovered in the robot so far?
We got all kinds of stuff. One thing for sure is when going up at kinetic energy spinners, I want my blade to be indestructible, right? That's the hope. And so sure. I have two new blades. They're both 1.5 thick AR 500 steel, and just massive pieces of metal. I mean, just massive. I mean, there's no way you're going to bend these things. And hopefully with my direct drive, I mean, I've got it secured so well. Hopefully there's not going to be any issues at all with, with my weapon, and being direct drive, there's really no chains or belts or anything to fall off. So I'm expecting all four of the upcoming fights are going to end up being, weapon on weapon. And so I'm making plans to hopefully make my weapon indestructible.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. The Swamp Thing fight, I'm the most worried about because of the wedge. Horizontal spinners against wedges generally don't go well. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get up above him and then, hit behind his wedge or off to the sides of his wedge. It's going to be more of a driving battle with Swamp Thing. Yeah, that's the one I'm the most afraid of, because he's got 1/2 inch thick AR 500, a wedge on that thing. I don't think I don't think his spinner will be able to contact my bot that well. Because it's such a steep wedge. I think he's going to have a hard time getting, to my wheels. Maybe not. We'll find out.
Yeah, because I know some of us have talked about the Swamp Thing match and some of our Discord chats, and like definitely what I'm most afraid of for Traves T is definitely the wedge bit, but like a lot of people have said, at least Swamp Thing's probably gonna have a hard time attacking it. Would have to attack like the wheel posts, or I feel, yeah, which would probably be a difficult task for them and everything like
Well,
that.
that's hopefully I can keep my front end pointed at him and not let him get to the sides of me. If he can get to the sides of me and get to my wheels, even though it's a fairly small target compared to most robots, it's really just the post coming down, with the wheel on it. So it's a smaller target than a lot of other bots. But if he gets to the side of me, he could chew us up.
Oh yeah,
I mean, all these robots we could be totally chewed up by all three of these opponents. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah.
So
we were talking with Craig just in the last interview, and they mentioned that they have gearbox upgrade aids planned to make sure Apex is a bit more mobile for this fight with Traves T. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how well that works out for them, as well as seeing lots of the upgrades you got planned for Traves T for that one. And
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
it should be an
Yeah,
exciting
we
weekend.
are plenty mobile. We can move and turn circles, and we move quite well. But we'll see. The Apex fights that I saw were kind of disappointing. I really expected that thing to chew up Slammo, but it didn't. It took them forever to get up to speed, and they never really got the blade up to speed. So hopefully that they're going to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hard at work on that one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because it sounds like even coming into the Slammo fight, Chris knew about how Slammo was struggling, or knew about how Apex was struggling with mobility, but then luckily it sounds like they've got some plans to deal with that, as well as the weapon spin up problems. So
okay, well
yeah,
that'll make the fights.
hopefully we'll get an excellent match from those two when they meet that weekend. So yeah, so then next question is basically whether it's a match you were actually in or a match that you weren't in. What was your favorite Proving Grounds match so far?
Hmm. Well, the Manta fight, obviously, that was like a big hit right there. That was a pretty cool fight. So no doubt about that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's probably my favorite. Yeah. Yep.
And then kind of going based off of that one, basically between all the Proving Grounds robots, like who are like, what's at least one robot you would want to take on, and who's at least one, and what's a robot you would want to avoid taking on?
Well, I will fight anybody. I mean, I will fight anybody. I don't care. I mean, if I get tore up, I get tore up. But I will fight anybody. I mean, if you want to get on the show, which is ultimately what I want to do, I want to get on. I want to fight for the championship. Whether I have a chance or not, I don't know. But I want to fight for the championship. So I'll fight anybody who's willing to fight me.
Absolutely.
Robots like I was, when we were there for the first time, I was almost going to fight Jackpot, which would have been it. But I was not ready for them. I did not have the extra armor for my wheels, and I wasn't. I did not. I wasn't. We would have got slaughtered because I didn't have the opportunity to. I didn't have the parts there needed to fight him. Otherwise, I would have fought him.
Yeah.
And he's a tall vert, and so whenever I go up against verts, my robot's going to be above their blade.
Yep.
And I didn't have the ability to get my body up above his blade because I just didn't have the parts to do that. So I mean, that's the intention of the bot, you know, because that's why it looks so fragile, is because it's supposed to be up, you know, above everybody. So, but yeah, I would have fought Jackpot. I would, you know, I'd love to fight Bloodsport. I mean, they're one of my favorite bots of all time. I love them. So, and they're so fast, and their blade is so powerful, you know. So that would be, they would probably chew us up, but I think that would be a good fight anyway.
Oh yeah.
I think ultimately it would come down to weapon on weapon and see whose weapon can survive.
Absolutely. So then next question, basically after your first Proving Grounds set of matchups, even when people were seeing this robot for the first time, this robot kind of won the hearts of Battlebots fans, I feel, the same way Rusty did a couple seasons ago. What was kind of your or the team's reactions to all that?
We were absolutely flabbergasted, you know, because, you know, social media was absolutely brutal to us prior to the fights. I mean, there was all kinds of, you know, nasty comments going on. But then we win a couple fights, then all of a sudden, you know, everybody thinks we're the greatest thing on earth, you know, which is the pendulum has swung way too far, right? But the reaction with the crowd, that was just so much fun. I mean, people just loved coming up to us and talking to us about the bot. And so that was an absolute blast. And then the social media thing kind of took off, and it's gone absolutely insane. But it's fun.
For sure. That's awesome to hear. And,
You are definitely a breakout star for sure. I could be wrong, but I think you technically have the record for lowest KO time average, if I'm not mistaken.
Official KO time average of 41 seconds for
Yeah,
Traves T,
I
which is
think
pretty crazy.
I think that's the record. I think Orby Blade might be close, but that's one fight, so I don't really want to count that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah, I mean, but those fights are kind of, I mean, those weren't real fights. I mean, I really not going to take credit for those because I mean, those weren't real fights. You know,
we got to at least see how Traves T works, and we know that it does work pretty well because we know the spinner can do some damage and that it drives pretty well. So even if it wasn't high to your opponents, it was great test runs for Traves T.
And I mean, as an old school BattleBots fan, I mean, once upon a time, Overkill was that robot that horizontals didn't want to fight because they'd always lose to it. So I mean, there's definitely something to be said to it, even if it is a show bot with an ineffective weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. What Dottie said. So yeah, next question then. Basically, yeah, Kyle from Hypershock requested this one when I basically mentioned who I was going to be interviewing and questions people would want asked. He mentioned what design challenge do you think is critical to overcome for Traves T to be able to reach the next level?
Well, obviously I've got to be able to take on, you know, powerful verts just like Hypershock and those kind of guys that are really fast and, you know, and really well driven. You know, I'm a terrible driver. My son does the driving for me, and he might not even be there at this upcoming proving ground. So the driving is such a critical thing. That's a huge part.
Yeah.
We need to get we really need to be good at driving. And then the other thing is just armoring up my wheels and hoping that my blade can hit as hard as I think it should and not quit. You know, it's pretty simple design, like I said, and so I'm hoping that blade just keeps turning no matter what I hit, because I think ultimately in the Apex fight and the Hellfire fight, there's gonna be weapon on weapon hits that are gonna be massive. I mean, I think they're gonna be massive. That Hellfire blade is spinning like crazy, and mine's spinning like crazy, and we're gonna hit going in the opposite directions, and that first hit weapon on weapon is going to be massive. And so
almost certainly,
from a design standpoint, I have to make sure that my blade never stops, and that we can drive to keep guys like Hypershock from chewing our way or chewing up our wheels.
For sure. So yeah, then let's see. Go to my next question then. Let's see. So basically then for the next question, and basically there are lots of robots that are basically fighting in proving grounds, looking for a spot in the top 50 for next season.
Right.
Basically, what factors do you think kind of make Travis T stand out of all those proving grounds robots? Whether it's like fight experience, quality of fights, you kind of get the idea.
Well, what I think makes us stand out is a number of things. One is, we're not rookies. I was into this big time back in the late '90s, early 2000s with my robot 2x4, and so we had that robot was very good, very reliable. I think it only broke down once in our entire fight, career, and we were pretty innovative. 2x4 was the first, as far as I know, the first gasoline powered horizontal spinner. And then we were also the first to have the gas motor above the blade, kind of like Ice Wave. We did that years before he did. And so we were kind of innovative, and the robots lasted. I mean, we didn't break down. I mean, we hated going against wedges, and that's the ones that always beat us. And but we also fought YU-812, which was the little brother of Son of Waiachi. We beat him.
Mm-hmm.
We fought the little brother of Gigabyte, beat them. Of course, they came back the next year and beat us. But, we fought a Brian Nabe friend's bot, Code Black. See, they kind of took our gas engine design and put it on a undercutter. And Code Black, we beat Code Black, but then again they came back the year after that and beat us. But so I think that the experience is a big thing, and I think the other thing that makes us stand out is because I'd like to think we're interesting. If they put up another vertical spinner, I mean, I just can't. The vertical spinner, everybody's got vertical spinners. If the whole sport will end up being vertical spinners, and that's to me, that's not good for the sport. And it's and I just like I said, I just won't build one. I just don't want to build one.
Yeah, that's
so
totally
did that answer the question or not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Showing factors for how you stand out, and yeah, definitely not to mention it's kind of turning into a bit of a fan favorite too. I feel also kind of helps make the robot stand out, and
very unique design.
And I think the direct drive thing. I mean, I'm shocked that I'm the only one who's really gone direct drive. I mean, with these new brushless motors where you can customize the RPM you want. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it saves so much weight and it makes the design so much similar. I don't know why nobody else has really gone with the direct drive concept.
Oh, don't know. But yeah, it should be exciting to get to see Travis T in the arena more. And yeah, like you talked about driving thing and everything. Definitely it's another practice makes perfect thing. And like definitely my favorite part of like doing these interviews so far has been hearing about how teams were able to grow basically. Like started off with a machine that didn't work exactly the way they wanted to, have quite a few issues, and then they've been growing and it's been working how they wanted it to, and yeah, it's always exciting. It definitely makes Robot look a lot better for the selection committee when they figure out who the top 50 is going to be for the next season. So
right. And I think a big thing from them too is reliability, is something that doesn't like stop, just doesn't stop functioning, 15 seconds into the fight. That's the worst possible thing you can do at a proving ground fight is have your robot stop,
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next one is basically let's see. Basically, what's kind of your general opinions on proving grounds? Since this is the first time Battlebots has been doing Proving Grounds exactly? Like, as in, like, do you like it? Do you not like it? And then
Well, I
reasons
think
why.
I think it's great. I think they should do more of that, and uh, and use that as a means of getting more bots into the competition. I know they've got limited time and all that, but to keep having the same robots over and over and over again is especially some of them are terrible. Some I won't mention names, but some of them are terrible, and they keep getting onto the show over and over and over again. I don't understand that. They need fresh blood, and I know there's lots of people like me that would love to get on the show. They just need. I think that the proving ground is a great way for somebody to come out there and show them that I've got a robot that functions and is competitive.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because like I think I've mentioned this on every single interview so far, but like I really like Proving Grounds because like it's an opportunity for new teams to and well, new robots for some cases, basically to test out their robot and figure out what the gremlins are within that thing. And even an opportunity for veterans to test out their designs or
Oh
test
yeah,
out their
yep,
upgrades. And yeah, because
yep.
like we just talked with Slammo recently, and he's got yeah, and Craig basically mentioned that he's got the robot working really well, like he wants it, and same thing with Banshee prior, and then watching other teams get to be able to take on lots of these veteran teams, like how we saw Disarray take on Jackpot, Doom take on Gigabyte. It's great experience for lots of these younger teams or new robots, having them take
Right,
on
right.
such a big name like those, and
Yeah, yep. I
and
mean, the unfortunate thing is there's been a lot of crappy proving grounds fights too,
yeah.
that's you know
Yeah, it's been a
that's the
learning
way it goes
experience for
sometimes.
quite
Yep,
a few of
yep,
these teams
yep,
and,
yep,
and everything, and it's always exciting to hear about the progress of those. Because yeah,
yep,
because we'll be meeting with
yep, yep.
Disarray. We'll be meeting with Disarray at some point and soon, and it'll be exciting to hear from them regarding their matches so far. And
Yeah, what's nice about them is they'll let you come back.
oh
If you
yeah,
have so it's not like it's a one shot deal. You can learn, and then you can come back.
yeah, absolutely, and that's just the awesome thing. And I think that also kind of looks good to BattleBots as well, having you come back multiple times just throw the bot in the arena once again, even if it's just a test drive it, basically. So, which I hear we've been seeing a lot from even veteran teams just coming by just to test out some of their upgrades, even just drive around the battle box a little bit. Because yeah, Craig basically mentioned how how there was always struggles with the battle box compared to other locations, and him being able to bring Slammo, like just to even test out some upgrades, even if he doesn't have a fight that weekend.
Oh
Definitely
yeah,
it's
yep,
helped a
yep,
lot for Slammo since Slammo hasn't
yep,
exactly been the most reliable robot over the past couple seasons, and it definitely has been looking better for them. So,
yeah, yeah. And because it's pretty difficult to find a safe place to test, especially if you got a big kinetic weapon, man. You
oh
know,
yeah,
I I do testing in my yard, but it's down like in a valley, and I'm hiding behind my truck when I'm doing it, but it still scares the shit out of me. You know,
makes sense. Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, something I'm hoping BattleBots will do in the future is kind of like have some sort of opportunity for international teams or teams that have a harder time getting down there for proving grounds, which I think could be part of the thing why we haven't been seeing quite as many teams
Hmm.
appearing. Because like I know there are quite a few teams who from the international side who probably almost certainly be interested in coming to proving grounds and testing out some of their robots. Yeah, because I know Boltergeist probably would. I know there's a new orc robot they would probably be interested. Same thing with Orion, and but yeah, it's harder for them just because
Oh yeah.
international shipping is
Oh yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. I don't know how those guys do that. I mean, coming from England and New Zealand and Brazil and all that. I mean, that's got to be mega expensive. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. All right then. So kind of a less serious question, one that was put into Discord this morning, and I asked Craig about this one. If your weapon got replaced by a food item, what would you choose?
Oh, gee. Oh, God. Uh, I just had Coney dogs. Coney dog would be good. Not very effective as a weapon, but Coney dog.
Yeah, Craig mentioned stale baguette.
Right.
Yeah. Zaza and Corey, you two got questions?
I can think of many, but the one I wanted to start with, because the photos and the footage of Travis T do not give this thing justice. I want to make that clear to people who haven't seen it, because that thing is massive and it doesn't look that way on the footage sometimes, but it's crazy. Like, how do you manage to have all the weight for Travis T in 250 pounds? Because I can't wrap my head around it. It's so big.
Well, it's big, yes, but there's a lot of nothing there. There's the frame is fairly light in and of itself, and of course with the direct drive, I save a lot of weight that way. And I needed to have it spread out like that so that I could counterbalance the blade. So I need that weight in the back so that I can position the wheels such that when I manipulate the blade up and down, I can get a good amount of movement out of it. And so that's why it needs to be spread out so much. And then, and so that's kind of, and then that balancing part makes it easier to be, for it to be maneuverable. So like the wheels are kind of like almost at the balance point. So it makes it much easier for it to turn. So that's kind of why it's shaped the way it is, and it is spread out, but the frame, like I said, doesn't weigh a lot, and so, it's the weight, so much of the weight is just in motors, blade, and batteries.
And then another thing I wanted to ask is you're coming back for 2 back-to-back weekends against some pretty big spinners here. And I'm definitely curious to see how the weapon hits go, but how prepared are you for the potential that they won't go your way?
Well, depends on what happens. I've got a spare motor, I've got spare speed controllers, I got spare blades, and the frame can be easily, if the frame gets cockeyed, that can be easily straightened. But there is one piece, that holds. There's a piece that holds the blade spins on a 5-inch shaft. So there's the motor up above it, and then there's a shaft coming off the motor that goes to a centrifugal clutch. And then that centrifugal clutch is housed inside that 5-inch shaft. And then the centrifugal clutch engages with the blade underneath the blade. So that piece that has that 5-inch shaft on it, if that were to get bent, that would be a big problem. But it's probably possible to straighten it. But that would be the hardest part, is if that sucker bent. I don't foresee it happening, but God only knows. Those hits are pretty hard. So, but as far as the other parts, I've got, like I said, blades and motors and speed controllers and all that. So, if it doesn't go our way,
Good to hear you're prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
You got any other questions you're open to ask, Zaza?
I'll hold off. I want to see if Corey's got anything.
No, I'm terrible at coming up with questions. I'm sure something will come up randomly, but right now I don't have anything.
yeah.
So I didn't.
Nobody's
Oh,
asked why does it have the big arm sticking sideways across it?
I figured it was so it wouldn't get tipped onto its side. That was my guess.
Absolutely, that's exactly why. Because with the blade sitting up so high, when it hits, it's going to want to tumble. So that's why that big arm is there.
Yeah, that thing was doing pirouettes against Overkill.
So
As if it might shatter in the future, and we see Shatter aiming for that thing, like how they somewhat aimed for. I don't know if they intentionally aimed for that thing on Huge, but yeah.
So that's the other thing about the bot, is if I go up against somebody who attacks from above, like a Shatter or a Scorpios or Kraken or somebody like that, I just flip the sucker over and then the blade's on top.
Oh, it can go over cutter too. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because I think I remember seeing a video where you're showing off how it's possible to adjust the robot kind of like that. That at
Oh
least.
yeah. We will adjust the height, the overall height of the robot for every fight, because we're going to want, the body to be just up above our opponent's weapon, and then so the overall height will be adjusted. And then, like I said, if somebody attacks from the top, then we just flip the sucker over and have the blade on top.
Oh yeah, exciting stuff. And yeah, that'll definitely be a key adjustment, especially if you were to fight somebody as low as like Warrior Clan or something. Even though that probably won't happen, but yeah.
I hope I get to fight a lot of people, but we'll find out.
Oh yeah, it's the feel. It just keeps getting. I imagine it just keeps getting tougher and tougher for the selection bunch to put together the
Yeah.
roster each season
Yeah.
because yeah, I imagine the list grows for the number of people they want to accept for like these last 5 or so spots.
Right.
And it's partially why I'm glad they had so many alternates in the recent season and why they got them more involved than they have been in the past at least, because we saw some of them take some of the main robots' places in the main comp when they weren't able to get ready in time, and then we got to see some actual fights from some of them, and of course a
Yeah.
few of them definitely showed promise during that. So
Right. I mean, I think there's a lot of good robots out there, and and for BattleBots just to keep using the same ones over and over again, I think that's just a mistake. I think it's just a mistake. You can't, people are going to get bored of seeing the same robots over and over again, especially the ones that aren't that good at performers. So
yeah, definitely.
And if I go out to Proving Grounds this time and I do shitty, I mean, that might be the end of Traves T. I mean, if I get wiped out, that might be the end.
Hopefully not.
I hope not either.
Of course, we'd want to see more Traves T.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
yeah.
That does lead into another question I was going to ask, though. If you were not building Traves T, since you've talked about, not wanting to build a wedge, not wanting to build a vert, nothing conventional, what else would you build? Because I'm very curious what else you would come up with from there.
I submitted, when I applied to get on BattleBots, I applied 2 years ago with a horizontal bar spinner that was going to be really thin. I mean, it was going to be the whole body was going to be 2 inches thick. And it was going to have a blade spinning on it. They rejected that. And then I had plans for a full body spinner that was going to be very compact. I mean, the whole thing was going to be like 22 inches in diameter and only 3.5 inches thick. And it was going to be made out of like solid steel practically. I mean, the base plate on it was going to be 1 inch thick.
Jeez.
And so I had plans to do that, and they rejected that. So yeah, they just said there's too many bots out there, and I that was very frustrating. So yeah,
Maybe in the future
I was
we'll
going to use
see some of those things.
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it's going to use that same motor that I used to spin my blade. That was going to be inside the main body of the full body spinner. And once again, it would be zero. It'd be direct drive, zero pulleys or anything like that. And the same with the wheels. So
Okay. Yeah, sounds
That'd be
totally
cool.
dope.
Pretty cool builds there.
Hey, babe, where's that my mock-up of the? Is that around here anywhere?
The old one?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I built a little mock-up of it just to kind of like show BattleBots what it would look like. I don't know if I can find it now. I don't know where it is. So Oh, here we go. So this, I just built this just to kind of like, can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's kind of the concept. It was going to be like I said, this is like a 1/3 scale.
Wow.
So that's kind of what it was going to look like. It's like
Enough reasons. It kind of brings me Sir Chrome-a-Lot vibes from Robot Wars.
I was seeing it looking kind of like a UFO.
it does. That's what its name was going to be, UFO, unidentified fighting object.
It's awesome.
See, I
would be
think
cool.
that would have been so easy to write for TV. I can't get why they wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
See,
I
and
think that
one thing
would be
about
so
this
cool.
too is that the teeth, there was going to be teeth that extended off of it. So I think one of the things about the full body spinners is the teeth are so close to the main shell that they need, if the teeth are farther out, that gives them a better chance. Like when they get picked up by the verts, it gives them a better chance for the tooth to impact the verts. That's my theory anyway. But anyway, that didn't get off the ground. So
That'd be something so
I
cool to
came up
see
with
in the
Traves T.
Battlebots in the future, even. And so, but yeah, we'll see going forward. So, Zaza, you got any other questions?
Yeah, I had just one last one. Because I know, you built Travis T. You talked about some of the other designs. You built 2x4 back in the day, and it was pretty interesting hearing some of the fights you had mentioned that you had. I didn't know about most of those, which is pretty cool to hear. Have you had any other bots throughout the years that have fought at any weight class, any events?
No, just the 2x4 and Travis T now. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna turn 2x4 into a middleweight in order to try to get into robo games, but that didn't go well. Yeah, it didn't go well. It was just you need to start. It was just because I had the body of 2x4 there, and I was just going to add a bunch of weight to it, and it didn't pan out. So.
Oh yeah, you're signed up for Robo Games this year, aren't you? I thought I saw you
I
on
am.
the
Yep.
on the list.
I
that.
am. I'm excited about that. Yep.
I'm looking
You're
forward
bringing
to that.
Travis T to that, or you bring somebody else to it?
I'm bringing Travis T. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be
Awesome.
Travis T. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully that goes well, but we'll see.
Get some more action with that thing.
Yep.
We can get some
Any,
more driving practice.
Any expectations for how that might differ from the BattleBots experience, for better or for worse?
I've never been there. I really don't know much about it. I'm hoping that it's kind of like I don't really know. Do you guys know how do they have or is it like a regular round robin, or how do they do it?
It's a
double elimination.
Double elimination bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Yep. That's the way. Most of the place, we fought at like North Carolina Robot Street Fight 3 times. I think we won once and got second twice. We went to Battle Beach 2 or 3 times. Did okay there, but never won or got second place. But then we also went to out in Minnesota. What was that other? I forget what they called, but yeah, they had another event out in Minneapolis, if you recall them. But yeah, we fought out there a bunch of times too. So that's where we actually fought a wood robot. We won.
Reminds me of a few wooden robots that I know of in the heavyweight category. So, well,
maybe we'll see another one.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Kurt, or Zaza, or Pori?
I think I've asked my questions.
Yeah, I think I'm all good.
Yeah, you got anything else you'd be interested in sharing, Kurt?
Oh, I just appreciate the interview. It's nice, and I'm just, I just, find the whole social media thing, insane, but it's
Oh, yeah.
it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to get out to the proving grounds and see how we do. Like I say, if we get slaughtered, that might be the end of us. If we do well, then you never know.
Hopefully you don't get slaughtered by the point of no repair. That'd be unfortunate.
Right. I hope. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking that if they chop my wheels off, that's probably the worst thing they can do to me. But like you guys said, those first weapon on weapon hits will tell the tale. You know, they'll tell the tale. Yep.
Just make sure you don't get paired up against uppercut if uppercut returns.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I was so worried for Huge that Huge could split in half when they fought uppercut, even though that didn't happen. Just I know uppercut had the height to strike the base of Huge, and
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's that's the thing about the vertical spinners is they can just transfer that energy, and man, those hits are so hard.
Oh yeah, especially since now we got robots that have been sent all the way into the ceiling. And
Right.
Hydra managed to do it with Death Roll, and then Riptide managed to do it with Hyper Shock. So
Yep. Yeah, that was insane. That hit there, that Riptide versus Hypershock. But I think like Hypershock was upside down, so the impact was double. And it sent him right through the roof.
Yeah, that was definitely part of it, but it was still awesome regardless. And
Yeah.
credit to Hypershock for still being mobile after that hit.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy the amount of damage bots can take now.
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely looks better in the Battlebots world, at least according to Greg and Trey and stuff. So
yeah, it just keeps advancing and getting tougher and tougher. No doubt about that.
Yep, and then we've been continuing to see the season constantly improve, so which has always been exciting to see, and I suspect we'll see that once again for next season if it gets confirmed. So
yeah, no, I hope they get their contract figured out and get rolling again. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, well then, if that's everything from everybody here, I think that'll conclude this interview. So yeah, good luck to you on matchups with Swamp Thing, Hellfire, and Apex. Definitely, and whatever other matchups you end up having happen at least at some point during this. Since I hear there are probably going to be more Proving Grounds matches coming. So, yeah, thanks for coming once again, Kurt. It was awesome getting to talk with you about Traves T, talk about the robot that's been winning a lot of people's hearts lately, and pretty awesome looking robot. Yeah, very exciting times here, and these Wheeled interviews are obviously so much fun to do, and definitely this one wasn't any different. So,
all right, I enjoyed it very much, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
No problem.
So,
thanks for
tuning in, everybody, and we'll get to the next interview.
All righty, bye.